Hi Floss Tube, it's Diane. I thought I would do my March update. My background here, I'm going to show off a little bit. Okay. This is the quilt that I made for my son who's graduating this year. He's graduating next month in May. And I just picked it up today. And the pattern is by Atkinson Designs. It's called Cheese and Crackers. And the pattern has a white background, but when my son saw the pattern, he said, well, what about a black background? And so it's got a black background and then primary colors. They did a wonderful job on the quilting. First of all, it was really fast. They had it done in about 10 days, and it's just, I love the quilting. And the quilting, I'm going to trace with my finger. The quilting's kind of a meander, but it's a different type of meander. So it comes down, makes kind of a curved square, and it's all over this pattern this way. And it's just gorgeous. They did a wonderful job. Wonderful job. And this is a queen size. Obviously you can't see the whole thing, but it's a queen size quilt. And I'm going to move to my left, as long as I don't sit on anything. Just so you could see a little more of the pattern. And here, bring this in a little bit, it has kind of a staggered border, and I'm going to put a black binding on it so it'll really frame it really nicely. But they did a wonderful job, and it's just gorgeous. It's just, you want to just pet it. So I thought I would show off my, so here's a potential FFO, but it's not a cross stitch FFO. It's an almost quilting FFO because I have to put the binding on. But I have the binding already made. That's half the battle. So, March. What did I do in March? I have a wee bit of haul, not a huge amount. I ordered from Stitchingly Along. I ordered some needle minders. I'm making sure I get it the right side up. This one, it's a kneeling fairy. I really like that cameo kind of style with the white on the dark. And her needle minders are really good. I've been so happy ordering from her. I'll put her info below. She has a Facebook group. Her name is Charisse. And of course I get a minion. Love minions. One of those glass ones, so it's a little hard to avoid the glare. She's had this on her availability for a while, and I finally broke down and bought him. When I dropped this off at the quilt shop, because I've been waiting for the quilt shop to have a sale on the backing fabric, and finally they did. When I was checking out, I look over and they have a board, a metallic board, but it's in the shape of a sewing machine, and they had these magnets on it, and I thought, why would they have needle minders? So I bought some. So there's these buttons, and they already had these ceramic magnets, although these are better than the ones that I buy at Joann's. And you get it. This is the pattern on this one. And I am going to take a picture and insert it so you can see the pattern. So they're quilt patterns that they made these little buttons on. Apparently you can buy a key fob or something and change out the motifs. And I had to go back and get some more because they were $2. $2. They already have the magnet on them. All I had to do was put the magnet on the back. Yeah. This one is a blue and yellow quilt. And in the center are florals. And these are good magnets. I've been testing them out. This one, kind of a rainbow with flying geese around it. And this pretty one. I'm not sure the pattern. Hourglass in the middle. And this one I think is my favorite. It's a modified log cabin. And of course it's green. Green's my favorite color. So, yeah, I'll insert a picture of those if I don't like how they turned out. This is another time I'm doing this video, and I didn't like how they looked last time, so I'll take a picture. And the lighting is always weird in this room. It's always weird in this room. My other haul is this little box. It's one of those boxes that has the magnet. When I was at a gathering of stitchers, one of the ladies had this, and I've seen them, and I thought, well, those are cute, but what would I use them for? She uses them to put like her highlighters and her scissors and, you know, those little things that we all have when we need to stitch. And that's my plan for it, is to do that. I just haven't got that far yet. I did not stitch on my my anniversary sampler. I was sick at the beginning of this month. Last month the kids were sick. They shared it with Mom. I could have just said thank you for taking care of us, Mom. But yeah. Anyway, I just didn't feel like I was in the mood to stitch that one. My eyes felt really weird, so I didn't do that one. But for the Cross Stitch It's Fun group, they had a stitch along that was supposed to begin March 1st, but I was sick, so I waited till I was better. And it's for Little House Needleworks or Country Cottage Needleworks, and this is the one that I chose. It's called Summer Garden. Last year I was part of a stitch exchange, and I gave this to the person that I had, and the person who had me gave this pattern to me. And when I opened up the box and I saw this pattern, oh, I was so happy. I love this pattern. It uses only DMC. And the fabric I chose to put it on is called Water Lily, which is a slight green. One project. 2 stitch alongs. So this is for the, it's not easy being green, Stitch Mania, and the Country Cottage Needleworks Cross Stitch It's Fun. And here is where I was able to get to. And let me fold this up a little bit to make it easier to handle. I didn't notice in the pattern when I first saw it, you know, when I gave it away and I received it, that there's this linen is, I haven't worked with it enough to tame it, so to speak, but there's a cat and there's a bunny rabbit. I just thought it was all flowers. So that's where I'm at on that one. And my needle minder, I made that guy. Thought he was cute. I got him at Hobby Lobby, I believe. He's a Hobby Lobby or Joann's, but I'm pretty sure it was Hobby Lobby. They had him on sale with that kind of tummy thing. Because I also had I made these a couple months ago. I don't think I showed them though. This guy, and he has that, it's not mother of pearl, I'm not sure what you call that center. And I also made this little turtle guy because I like turtles. And I think I did show him, because I know I showed this guy. And this one I got at Joann's, I know. So I made a few. This one I got at Michael's. So yeah. But that's when I made this owl. In case you want to see if it's still there at Hobby Lobby. But yeah, I'm going on a retreat next week. Actually, it's coming Thursday, because today is the 1st of April. And if I bring a project to work on the plane, I think I'm going to bring this one, because it's easy to read pattern, colors, straightforward, easy to follow. If I make a mistake, it won't be so huge. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot another part of my haul. I had the opportunity to get together with other stitchers on the Saturday before Easter. And I encourage you, whenever you have a chance to get together with other stitchers, it's always a lot of fun. Well, I had to stop at my L&S, of course. And I found this guy that I've been looking for a few months. They probably had it when I was looking for it. I was looking in the wrong section. And so I went to a different section of the store, and here it is sitting there. It is Words of Wisdom from a Snowman. So Snowman Wisdom is the pattern name by Sue Hillis Designs. Really like her designs. They're very nice to stitch. I've stitched this guy here. I've stitched another one. But what does this one say? Words of Wisdom from a Snowman. It's okay to be a little bottom heavy. Don't get too much sun. Everyone knows carrots are good for you. Be a jolly, happy soul. It takes a few extra rolls to make a good midsection. It's fun to hang out in your front yard. Remember, we're all a bit flaky. White is always appropriate. And accessorize, accessorize, accessorize. I think I have fabric for this in my stash, so I didn't buy any. But yeah, I really like her designs. And this one on the back here, Warm Winter Wishes, that one's really cute. Might have to look at that one another time. I also found this one, Stitcher's Days of Christmas. And let's see, on the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 pairs of ginger scissors, 11 golden needles, 10 cuts of linen, 9 bags of buttons, 8 silver thimbles, 7 fine new patterns, 6 chatelaines, as in the thing that hangs off your scissors, 5 skeins of silk, 4 hours free to stitch, 3 stitching frames, 2 sewing birds, and a hat full of overdyed threads. My husband read through this and he got here. He said, "Really, dear?" But I was reading it and I had a chuckle because I want to show you the pattern. But here it talks about the fabric. Stitch count is 79 inches wide by 490 inches tall, roughly 6 inches by 35 inches. We suggest you cut your fabric 13 feet by 43 inches. It's supposed to be 13 inches. But I do like how they have it framed here. But on the back they talk about making it a wall hanging with a topper of some kind. I like that idea. I think that's how I would stitch it. And I asked my L&S and they would cut it. It would be a special cut, but they would cut it for me. Another thing I liked is this is like a cover, and then your pattern is in its own little baggy thing. But here on the inside, they took this section of the pattern and they enlarged it because there's a lot of back stitching in there. And if they would have kept it the same size, I think it would be hard to read. But they enlarged that portion so you know where to put the back stitching. And I really appreciate that. I think their designs, they really think of, you know, how can we help the stitcher enjoy this project. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I don't have fabric for it. Don't have a time frame for it. But this is the one that Stitchville has a box, kind of a newly arrived, brand new, I can't remember how they label it. And so I looked through that box. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. And so I saw this one. I had seen this pattern on another newsletter website that I'm part of. Stony Creek Magazine does a Friday newsletter, and I like that. Their little newsletter, it's enough to kind of give you a snapshot of new stuff and cross-stitching. Nordic Needle also does a digital these are digital newsletters. So you can go to their website and join if you want. This is the one. It's Glendon Place, GP229. And it's called Frosty's Carrot Caper. So you have Frosty at the vegetable stand. Frosty caught picking his nose. I love snowmen, and I'm a mom of 10 boys, so I liked the humor in there. And this design, I actually picked up a piece of fabric for it. It's 28 count cashel. It's called Blue Whisper. And it's just a very slight little color variation. They didn't have, Stitchville has a selection of Picture This Plus fabrics, but they didn't have the dwarf cashel linen that's called for this design, but I thought this one was pretty close. And this design, on the back they say you need an 18 by 18 piece of fabric. I'm not quite sure why they say such a big piece of fabric, because the design area, if you round up the measurements, is 10 by 7. I like to have 3 inches, have the design, and then 3 is this recording? Oh good. Sorry. Sometimes my phone does weird things on me, it freaks me out. Anyway, I like 3 inches of margin, design 3 inches. So if this is 10, 13, 16, so it's 16 inch, and if it's 7 this way, then you want 3 for 10 and plus 3 for 13. Hope that made sense. So roughly you need a 13 by 16 inch piece. I'm not quite sure why they recommended an 18 by 18. Seems a little big for me. And I have the correct count. That is on 28 count, so I'm not sure why. My piece is 15 by 19. That's what they had available. This little guy, well, he's probably not as little as I think, if he's 10 by 17, or 10 by 7, excuse me. There are 43 DMC colors in there. And then on the top of the little Christmas trees here, there's some Petite Treasure Braid. So, hopefully you can, but I liked that. And I do want to stitch this summer sometime. Yeah, caught picking his nose. I just really liked, I know that sounds weird, but I'm weird. That's the way it goes. So, I stitched on the Country Cottage, and I'm also stitched on the Cross Stitch Finish Line group. Had a Sal for spring themed, and the one that I chose is from the Just Cross Stitch magazine April 2016 issue. Oops, that's not it. Number is it? It's the Seasons in Chalk spring. I didn't like it on this fabric. I liked the winter one on that fabric, but if you wanted to have all 4 seasons on the same fabric, that would be hard to choose a fabric, I think, unless you saw all of them. But I chose to use this. It's 18 count Aida, and it is hand dyed fabrics by LJ. And that needle minder there is another one I picked up at the quilt shop. I didn't get very far. Wasn't feeling very good that day. But the color is called Heaven. And I think this pattern is charted for Gentle Arts threads and Weeks Dye Works. And they look gorgeous on this. I did a floss toss. They look beautiful on this fabric. So I think it'll look great. What I didn't, well, I should say, I stitched on Queen Anne's lace also. That's this pattern. I think last month I had most of her skirt done, the green that you see. And this is where I'm at now. She is ready for beads. The back stitching is done. The stitching itself is complete. So I'm going to start the beading tonight. She has, for a little fairy like this, she is very bead heavy. The fabric is 32 count Jobelin by Fabrics by LJ. It is called Georgia Peach. I will say, I know a couple of you want to stitch this pattern. if you make a working copy, or if you download it for free from the Just Cross Stitch magazine website, which that's how I first got it. I knew I would buy the magazine, but the magazine wasn't available yet when the pattern was available for download, and I printed it off. If you print off this pattern, please be aware, let me come back here. The end of her wings here and her legs, they're like tights. It's acrylic. It's 192. I do not like the symbol that they used in this particular pattern. I do not know why they use that symbol. It's like a kind of a backwards C. When you print it off, it's very, very, very light. Hard to read. Especially when you get to the edge of her wings and you're doing quarter stitches. So my suggestion, but she's still a gorgeous pattern. My suggestion is if you make a working copy, a photocopy of this particular pattern of any kind, whether you download it and print it or you just print it from the magazine, go through the pattern and find that symbol and highlight it. And you can do that from the computer screen, or if you have your magazine, you can do it right from the magazine. Otherwise, you're going to have difficulty reading it. And I was really surprised. Every other symbol was just fine. But that one symbol was so hard to read on the printout. Now, when I came to those sections, I had the magazine by then. So there was no problem. I could do it. But if you're going to stitch this, and you're going to print the pattern at all, highlight that symbol. And it's for the Krennic. There's only one Krennic. Highlight that symbol. Someone asked if I was going to do skin over skin, and I like the effect, but I don't have the patience for that. But her legs are actually the Krennic. It's like she has tights on, and I didn't want to mess doing Krennic 1/1. But she is a gorgeous pattern, and I encourage you to stitch her. But my advice would be highlight that particular symbol before you start stitching. I think when you get to that part of the design, you will appreciate that. So that's just my kind of heads up on it. You know, take it or leave it type of advice. But I wanted to have that done at the beginning of the month, and I ordered the special fiber. One of the water lilies I didn't have. I had the green one, but I didn't have the pink one. And so I ordered it from Stitchville. And I ordered a couple of fibers. They got the one, because I had a deadline for this project, they got the one for the project with no deadline right away, within days. But of course this one, because I had a deadline, they were holding and holding and holding. Took a while to get in, but it came in nonetheless. And so I plan on working on her beads tonight, and hopefully she won't take too long to bead. Oh, and I also bought a tacky bob. My old one is like 10 years old. You don't have to buy a new one of these every project. Please don't think I'm saying that. But I had broke the case, and it had not lost its stickiness in all that time and all the beading projects I've done. So these are really, really good. I just needed a new one. I did not realize, but I was doing the mostly monogamous stitch along. I can't remember which group that is, if it's Stitch Mania or Cross Stitch It's Fun, or I think it's Stitch Mania. But this is the one I've been doing most of the month, and it is the Feather Fairy Mirabilia. Someone in their video said they wanted to do this pattern. My advice before you do any Mirabilia pattern, especially one that's been out a little while, this one's copyright 2004, go to mirabilia.com, find the design, click on it, and scroll down to see if they have any corrections. There's also a corrections tab on that page that has a chart, and sometimes beads aren't available anymore. Okay, use this color instead. Or, oh, we messed up on a symbol, please note. It's really handy to do that before you start stitching a Mirabilia. Lavender and Lace does that too. And I know other design companies do say, hey, you know, there's a correction. If you have an older pattern, please make this adjustment. So I encourage you to do that, especially Feather Fairy. Feather Fairy, you're going to want to actually go to the design page for this particular picture. You'll see a picture, and then it'll give you the key for the floss, and then it has some information below. On some of the patterns, you see this feather, how it kind of comes up like this? The pattern cuts it off. My pattern did that. So they give you a link to go to a free pattern. It's not the entire pattern. It's just that area of the pattern plus enough stitches for placement. And that way you can finish your design, no charge. So if you're going to do it, just double check your pattern. Also, there are a number of symbols that got mixed up. And so if you have an older pattern like I did, the corrections might not be there, but look at that page and then you'll know. But she's gorgeous. I love the blues and the greens and the brown. Oh, they're beautiful. And oh, I want to show you part of the, not really the chart, it's more the legend. Here, we'll just use this. This is something I had never come across in a pattern before. Now you have blended threads, like here 733, 3371. I think that's what that is. So you take one strand of 773, one strand of 3371. You thread your needle at the same time, and you stitch with both colors at the same time. It gives a really nice effect. But what I had never run into before was this. 3345 and 3819. Blended thread has 2 DMCs, 1 symbol. We have 2 symbols, 1 DMC color. And no other explanation on the pattern. The only time I've ever run into that is, okay, if you see this symbol, you use 1 strand. If you see this symbol, you use 2 strands. There's no explanation on the pattern. And that's one reason I went and found all the corrections for Feather Fairy, is because I was going, why is it marked this way? I understand blended threads. I've used them for years. So I threw it out onto Facebook, some of the groups I'm in, and I narrowed it down to 2 options. And don't be surprised if my phone cuts out on me. It likes to do that about 30 minutes. Anyway, I narrowed it down to 2 options. One, they had a color floss that is no longer available, or DMC, in the interest of dyeing their fibers, following environmental protocol, improving their process so they have better color for us to stitch. The color might have changed a lot. One DMC color that has been affected by dyeing changes is 504. I know this from personal experience. But sometimes the dyeing process changes over time. Normal. It's kind of normal. But overall, DMC is very reliable on the colors. Maybe they changed a color or made one unavailable. And so it was much easier, instead of going through the pattern and changing that whole symbol, to say, you know what, let's just change the legend and have 2 symbols for 1 DMC color. That's one scenario. The second scenario is, if you look at the symbols around that particular one on the pattern, it might be easier to read if you have a different symbol. So you have the color in 2 different areas on the pattern, but you have 1 symbol here for that same color and 1 symbol here for the same color. The symbols around those areas make it easier to read if the symbol is different. I hope this is making sense. It makes sense in my head, but sometimes it doesn't connect here. that you have some symbols over here where if you used symbol number 1, it would get very confusing. So you use symbol number 2. But in this section of the pattern, if you use symbol number 2, it's going to get messy. So they use symbol number 1. I hope this makes sense. Someone told me, some people have stitched this pattern obviously, and they said, you know what, I use the same DMC for both symbols, and she looks great. And that's what I'm doing too. So I hope that didn't totally confuse you. But this is the one I've been stitching on most of the month. I've fallen in love with her, and here's where I'm at. This is also 32 count Jobelin, Georgia Peach, Fabrics by LJ. And she's just gorgeous. Look at these blues and greens, and even this kind of olive green, which is not my favorite color, but it just works. And you could see some of the blends here, like up here on the feather, and kind of along where the feathers lie. Those blends, especially on the feathers, in this project, give it, you know, feathers kind of have that iridescent shimmer. It has that kind of effect on this edge here. And here's a blue and 3371. I can't remember what the blue is. It's 900 something. But it just gives kind of an iridescence to the feathers. It makes them a little more dimensional. But I love her. I've loved stitching on her, so I stitched on her most of the month. In this needle minder, someone gave me a needle slide, which I think I actually have in here somewhere. And this was a decoration on it, but they only had double-sided tape on the decoration. So it fell right off right away. So I just made it a needle minder because it's so cute, and I made this one too. But yeah, this is my mostly monogamous one, which I did not realize I was actually participating. But I totally fell in love with her. So I'm going to finish off her skirt. Then I'll probably do her legs and then go up in her bodice and wings. Her wings have 2 Krennics. And a lot of the wing is Krennic. And she only has 1 bead. So 1 bead in the entire pattern and 2 Krennics in the entire pattern. So she's really nice to stitch. And I can't remember who said they wanted to stitch her. I encourage you to stitch her. She's not a small Mirabilia. She's bigger than Queen Anne's lace. And she's not a large one like Lady of the Mist. She's a nice medium. And she's just beautiful. But I encourage you, go check out those corrections first. Save you a lot of headache later. So that's what I've been stitching on. I've also been prepping for my retreat. It is called Mirabilia Mirabilia. Let me try that. Okay. Told you it was going to cut out on me. Mirabilia Minion Retreat. I don't know. I'm tongue-tied today. We're encouraged to bring some of our finishes. And here's one of my Mirabilia finishes. Lady of the Mist. She's probably the largest Mirabilia I've stitched. Although I have Persephone, she's in my UFO timeout box. She's probably a similar size. But let me go in, I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit. I love these roses. They're just gorgeous. And her headpiece. And the roses again. She's a beautiful piece. Love the greens, the blues and purples, and as you could see, I finished her in 2009. So she's probably the biggest Mirabilia I've finished to date. I do have Snow Queen on my wish list. I think she's, if I've heard correctly, rumors are you need bigger than a fat quarter to stitch her on, because she's big. But I don't know, I don't have the pattern yet. Another Mirabilia I'm bringing, Autumn Queen. When I started Spring Queen, I thought she was on antique, Autumn Queen was on antique white, but she's actually on Twilight Blue Jobelin. And she's just, look at her crown. Oh, she's beautiful. I love the green, especially You need like a third hand for this. Here, these are all beads. And it's just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Her bodice, it's mostly beads. This has whisper in it, so that's what this white over here. It's kind of fuzzy. And I have a special brush to use with whisper, but you can use a clean toothbrush. It doesn't have to be an old toothbrush. It just has to be clean. Some people say you can just rub your finger. Personally, I would discourage that because of oils, but a clean toothbrush, I've heard it works really well. I just bought a special tool for it because I'd never used whisper, and the lady at the shop said, this is what you should use. But I have a whole bunch of projects that have whisper in them, so I'll be using that tool. And this kind of free floats. It's designed that way, as does this strand of beads. And when I did that, I strung them, secured it, and then went back through and strung them again to help secure it even more. She's just, I love her. She's beautiful. Beautiful piece. And this one, I'm going to cover up the personalization. I have to kind of fix him a little bit. This is a burst sampler I made for one of my children, and it is called Crescent Dreams. And I had this framed, but one of his younger brothers took a piece of chalk to it. It was orange chalk, and I thought, oh, it's not going to come out. I soaked it in Treasure Wash, and it came out. And I soaked it actually, I think, 3 times because I was worried about ghosting. But it all came out. And so he's going to travel with me. But I have to, there's a crystal that goes here. I have to reattach. And then there's a piece of ribbon with some stars I have to reattach. But I'll do that before the retreat. So that one is going with me. And of course, red. This is French lace, the color that is called for in the model. I usually change out the fabric, but I really liked the color. And it just, I love it. Obviously she's not been ironed, but that's okay. She'll travel with me too. I've also decided I'm bringing Feather Fairy to work on during the retreat. And I'm also going to bring Venetian Opulence, and Atomic Stitcher finished her recently, so it spurred me on to finish mine. Check out Atomic Stitchers because it's beautiful. Here's where I'm at. So her fan is where I'm kind of working right now, and I think this goes down, these 2 lines here go down farther, and then her skirt. And then there's the frame on the bottom, kind of matches the top in the colors. So Atomic Stitcher finished hers, and she sparked my interest in getting her done. And here is what she will look like when she's finished. So yeah, it goes down a little bit more, and then her skirt, and then this frame ledge that she has. So I'm going to bring her, oh, and the fabric. Fabric is 32 count Jobelin. It's called Water Lily. Really nice fabric to stitch on. So I'm going to bring her. I'm going to bring Florentina, that I just did a little bit on in January. I didn't get very far on her. But here's what she'll look like when she's complete. Although, to be honest, I don't like the cat. I like cats in general. I can't have one because I'm allergic, but I thought those were flowers. I think it would be pretty to have flowers come up. I'll worry about it when I get there. And I started her, this is 32 count Lugana. Under the Sea Fabrics. I think it goes this way. So I don't have very much done. And it's called Elphaba is the color. I've noticed if we hold our fabrics back a little more, you can see more the true color. And then when you go into detail on the stitching, you lose the true color. That's why I keep going back and forth. And I made that needle minder charm I found at Hobby Lobby. So, and I've marked with sulky sliver, just the vertical and horizontal center. I've found that that helps me with my mirrors because they are large, and I have all her silks. Her silks are here, so I'll be bringing those. Will I actually sit down and stitch instead of chat? No, we'll see. I'll figure that out. And then, of course, the last one I'm going to bring, because I have 11 Mirabilias going at this time, but I am going to bring this one. So I'm only bringing 4. And this fabric is, does this look on or Belfast? This is Belfast linen, 32 count, under the sea fabrics. It's called Zeus's Domain, so it goes light blue to dark blue. And again, I started her in January. Got that much done in a day. This piece is red sapphire. That's what I'm calling her. It is red that I just showed you, but stitched in blues. A lovely lady named Beverly. I'll try and put her information below. If I forget, just gently remind me. She did red in purples, but then this last year she did her in blues. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm calling her red sapphire. So she's red, but she's stitched in blues. Excuse me. And as red is facing this way, I took my pattern. I asked Beverly, and she said that this is what she did. Took my pattern to Staples, and they have the ability to reverse your pattern. So red sapphire is going to face this way. So I knew she was going, and I knew Venetian Opulence and Feather Fairy. Florentina was the one that just made the cut. But I think that's all I had this month. April, I don't think I'm joining any stitch-alongs in April. I'm just going to keep working on what I am working on. And then my son has his graduation in May, so that'll take my time. And again, I'll just stitch whatever I want to stitch. So I do want to suggest that everyone, if you're on Facebook, please check your groups, because there are some groups out there. Facebook has a really bad, stupid, I have the ability to add you to any group I want to if I'm part of that group without asking your permission. I encourage you to check your Facebook groups to see that the groups that you are listed in, and you can just click groups and see all groups, are those groups that you want to be involved in. Because people can add you to a group and you don't know. You don't always receive the notifications that, hey, you've been added to a group. I was recently added to a group, but it was a group I wanted to be involved with anyway. So that was fine. But Facebook is kind of hit or miss for me on notifications. I have sent people private messages and have been waiting and waiting and waiting for a response. And here they responded, but Facebook didn't tell me. So I encourage you to go into your Facebook account if you have one, and just make sure that you're in a group that you want to be in. Whether it's cross-stitch related or not, just, are these groups what I want to be involved in? There are some groups out there that they want, if you add X amount of people, you win a prize or something. So people are being added to groups without their permission or knowledge. So I just encourage you to check that out. And don't be afraid of leaving a group if you've changed. Maybe you don't want to stitch a certain designer anymore or something. I don't know. Don't be afraid of leaving a group if you do not feel it fits your needs. So I won't hound you about it. But if you're looking for some groups, that try to keep the drama down have fabulous administrators, in my opinion. 3 that come to mind that I'm involved in are Cross Stitch, It's Fun, Cross Stitch, Finish Line, and Stitch Mania. I so appreciate what the administrators do to keep the drama down, to keep the whole attitude and atmosphere of the group positive and encouraging. So if you're looking for groups, there's some groups to maybe check out. They're all closed groups. You do have to request to join. And I would encourage you to have something in your Facebook somewhere in there that you cross-stitch, because that'll help the administrators know that you are a cross-stitcher, because spammers get in there every once in a while. But our administrators of these 3 groups, and I've been a part of Stitch Mania for about 6 months, Cross-Stitch Finish Line pretty much when they started a few months ago, and Cross-Stitch It's Fun for over a year now. The administrators keep on top of things. They're very casual. The stitch-alongs that I mentioned, very casual. Humor, enjoyable people in the group. So I just want to put a plug out for those groups and the administrators. Thank you, Katie, Stash Queen, Garrett, Coffee Stitcher from Stitch Mania, Joe Gregoire, Molly Peckham, and I think it's Chandra Parker for Cross Stitch Finish Line. And Cross Stitch It's Fun has a number of administrators. I can't remember all of them, but Wonderfully Hopeless started the group. Miss Mel has been involved from the beginning. Poppy has been involved from the beginning. Netta. I see her picture. Raven Stitcher. And there are other administrators on that group, and I so appreciate the work you guys do. If I didn't name you, I can't remember your name, and my memory's not. It's kind of out there right now. I appreciate what you guys do a lot, so thank you. So I think that's all I have today. At the conference, it is our lovely hostess is Leslie LaFleur from Under the Sea Fabrics, and Nora Corbet is supposed to be there. I say Corbet, someone asked me about this. I say Corbet because I studied French in high school and college, and they taught us ETT, you say A, ETTE, you say et, and it's just ET, you say et. So that's just how I learned it, and that's what the little voices in my head tell me to say. So I'll actually find out, because I can meet her. She is supposed to be at the conference, or a conference retreat. I don't know when and all that, but she's supposed to be there. But I also look forward to meeting Trixie Stitches, Miss Janet. Janet is her adult name. Brenda Stitches, and I know there are some other people on FlossTube who are planning on being at this retreat. So I look so forward to it. This is so outside my wheelhouse, just to go somewhere and not know anybody, but I look forward to it. I really do. So I'll probably have a lot of pictures, but I'll probably do a video when I get back on how much fun it was. So I think that's all I have today. So I hope you have a good April, and I have no idea when I'm going to get this up before I leave on the 7th, but I hope you have some good stitching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, FlossTube.